Hello and welcome to Dungeons and Drawgans. Today's story is one of conflict and combat on the continent of Corvair, from the Eberron Campaign setting. In a main street market in the town of Ardev in Breland, shouts rang out as a pack of wild owlbear cubs rushed into the crowd. The people split and fled, taking cover wherever they could, but 5 people stood ready for a fight as they were assailed from all directions. A man with green eyes and white hair, down in a bowl cut, which flared up into a hurricane of hair as he drew his blade. A colorfully clothed caster with a star knife and quarterstaff stood practically glowing. A tall, red-eyed individual in a long black trench coat, tall even for an elf, looked around cautiously before pulling out a gun. A tough-looking fellow with skin as black as coal and thick dreads wielded a bastard sword and a massive shield, and a strange-looking tiefling with mismatched eyes and a rapier in one hand. One of the owlbears charged at the tiefling, swinging claws, but he parried them out of the way. The elf used a crate as a footstool and hopped on top of one of the stalls and out of reach. He aimed his gun and shot the attacking creature right in the head, killing it. The Viking-looking man with dreads could hit fairly hard as well, and the white-haired man was using psychic powers to make himself tougher. The colorful caster recognized his abilities as those of an android. One of the owlbears charged the stand that the gunman was hiding up on, collapsing it, but it was quickly eliminated by the caster. As the fight wound down, and the authorities of Breland arrived to find the dead owlbears, they asked the party to come in for questioning. Once their story had been heard, they were promptly released, but it seemed someone else had taken notice.
Hello, I'm Aurelia of House Deniev,
the stranger said.
Marcus Miles, nice to meet you,
the white-haired young man said.
And what about the rest of you?
Aurelia asked. You can call me Viper, said the black-haired gunman.
Zebru,
replied the brutish man with dreads.
I am Luce Felix, cleric of Desna,
replied the magician in the colorful cloak.
Evil Grin,
said the strange tiefling man. The others gave him an odd look. Aurelia continued.
I saw how you dealt with those rampaging creatures. I wondered if you'd be interested in working for our mercenary guild.
Do I get to kill things?
asked the tiefling.
Yes, mercenary work does often involve bloodshed.
I'm in.
How does it pay?
Well, that depends.
Aurelia said.
On what contracts you decide to take.
Sounds fair. The others agreed, and were brought in to sign on with the guild. Some were excited to work as a group, while others clearly saw this as a means to an end.
Marcus Miles, nice to meet you.
Sure, kid, said Viper. I'm just here for the money. Zebru later returned to the market in search of potions, but when the price did not meet his expectations, he swiped it and ran off.
Guards!
The shopkeeper called, and they were quickly after him. He ducked down an alley and remained hidden, losing the guards. Luckily for him, this wasn't traced back to him. He rejoined the party at House Deniev that night, where they were discussing one of the available contracts. A wizard tower? Viper asked. Sounds like my kind of target.
Yes,
Aurelia agreed.
We believe that they were the ones responsible for the owlbear attack that you were involved in stopping. We'd like you to break in and find out what they're up to.
Alright. Time to take some wizard heads.
It would be best if you left them alive, actually. There'll be an extra reward for capture.
Aurelia proposed. Viper grumbled but agreed.
You can count on us,
said Marcus, positive as ever. The next day, the party convened at the wizard tower to discuss their approach. I'm gonna check around back, said Viper. Luce followed, and they headed around the side of the building. Marcus, Zebru, and Evil Grin took the more direct approach, knocking on the door, and when no one answered, the muscular Zebru took it down. They charged in to meet the others, who had broken in a back window. Viper seemed particularly adept at dealing with magic users, but Marcus was the one to subdue a lot of the mages alive. With their unconscious captives tied up behind them, the group moved deeper into the tower, finding a downward winding staircase that led further into the darkened interior of Ludwig Fowl's wizard tower. Beneath the surface, the party encountered some cages and a set of rabid-looking dogs that had seemingly escaped them. These blink dogs warped around the room, attacking and slipping past attacks with a strange teleportation ability. Viper noticed that they each had tags on their ears that appeared magical in nature, Luce, that's what you called yourself, right? Viper asked. What are those tags on the thing's ears? Luce cast Detect Magic and could identify them. They were controlling the creatures. Aim for the tags, Viper said, taking a shot at one and blew off the creature's ear. The dog ran away and fled in fear. Evil Grin cut off another.
Great job, Eberron. Call me Eberron again, and I'll kill you.
Evil Grin said angrily.
Okay, sorry.
Marcus retracted. The others followed suit, cutting the tags off of the remaining three's ears. Two of them fled, and the third backed itself into a corner.
Guess that's it.
Marcus said with a smile.
Good job, team.
Viper extended his hand, cautiously approaching the cowering dog, and pet it. It blinked past him and darted out the door.
I didn't think you cared about anything but money.
I like animals, Viper said as a small white ermine popped out of the large collar of his coat. They're predictable, not like people. Luce, Zebru, Viper, Evil Grin, and Marcus made their way deeper, in search of the owner of this tower. Finally, they found themselves on the final door, and face to face with Ludwig himself. Though he was in a far from vulnerable state, he sat piloting a massive crab-shaped mech.
Think we can handle this, Eberron?
I told you to never call me that.
He shouted.
Whatever you say, Eberron.
Viper slipped away from the rest of the group and ducked behind a pillar, as the others surrounded the mech and began to wail on it, but it fought back, swiping at them with its large pincers and lasers. Viper popped out of the shadows to fire a shot at it and hit, but the bullets could barely pierce its armor. The massive crab grabbed Zebru in one of its claws, lifting him off the ground, and blasted him point blank with one of its lasers. It dropped Zebru's unconscious body to the floor. Evil Grin chuckled a bit at this, but decided to finish it. He charged in and thrusted his rapier through the mech's ocular lenses, bringing it down. The party backed up, and Luce healed Zebru as the monster exploded, taking Ludwig down with it. The party collected the papers that littered the lab, evidence of the group's involvement, and returned to the guild building. When they arrived, however, the guards were there waiting for them. While Viper, Luce, and Marcus turned in the bounty, the guards stopped Zebru.
We heard someone fitting your description robbed a shopkeeper yesterday. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
Zebru was caught, and there wasn't much he could do.
Of course I intended to pay for it. I'll happily give you the gold now.
The guards seemed skeptical and upset with him, but when Zebru handed over an amount of gold that far exceeded the value of the potion, they decided to leave him be. This, of course, made Aurelia skeptical of the new guild member, but he agreed to leave some money with her in case of additional events. Luce left the room to go rest. Evil Grin approached Zebru.
I told you not to call me Eberron.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
Evil Grin drew his rapier, and Zebru drew his bastard sword in response. Viper stepped up and pointed his gun at Zebru. Put your weapons away.
Why are you pointing that at me? He drew first.
Zebru asked. Because I like him more, but I'll shoot either one of you if you attack. Marcus saw the standoff and quickly ran to get Aurelia and Luce. It was a tense few seconds before the others returned to break up the fight. Evil Grin stormed out, and Viper followed. Luce and Marcus took after them after a bit, and all but Zebru wound up in a bar. Marcus and Luce entered, searching for Viper and Evil Grin, who were drinking together.
Do you mind if we join you?
Marcus asked. Viper shrugged. Evil Grin remained silent.
I don't really think it's a good idea for us to fight,
Marcus said.
I'm sorry for starting this, Evil Grin. It's not you I'm mad at,
he said.
I know, but I still feel like it's my fault.
The group drank together for a bit and got to talking.
So what's your story, Evil Grin?
Asked Luce.
I don't feel like sharing,
He said.
Alright, then I will.
Luce told about how his village had been wiped out, and he was trying to figure out what happened. Since we're sharing, Viper said, my story isn't too different from that personally. He took a drink. My parents were killed by a powerful magic user that was hired to take them out. So I've devoted myself to learning how to kill wizards and sorcerers, so I can figure out who did it.
So, it seems like a lot of us have lost something we care about,
said Marcus. I suppose that's the type of thing that leads people into lives of adventuring. What about you, Marcus?
My family is fine. I guess you could call him my father, the man that built me. Lives not too far from here, actually. Merrick's to Kenneth.
The party finished their drinks and turned in for the night, ready to start another job the next day. After a period of rest, they took up some bodyguard work, escorting one Camilla Yorosu, a very young child aristocrat, and her middle-aged butler, Heathcote, to the nearby city of Sharn. The first couple of days on the road were uneventful, but on the third night, during Evilgrin and Viper's watch, the carriage was attacked. Viper had heard it coming, and Evilgrin went to wake up the others, but the sound of a gunshot beat him to it. Zebru and Marcus charged out into the darkness to meet the creature, a large, bird-like aberration wielding a battle axe, which quickly paralyzed them with its gaze. Luce moved forward to help, but was also paralyzed, leaving only Evilgrin and Viper. The beasts attacked the helpless Zebru, slashing his neck open with the battle axe, and letting him fall unconscious and bleeding out to the floor. Evilgrin held the creature off as Viper moved in. With Luce paralyzed, the only form of healing they had was a few potions. He got to Zebru just in time to give him one and stop him from dying. "You owe me 1,000 gold," Viper said, patting him on the side. Evilgrin and Marcus defeated the creature, and the party returned to their rest. They traveled together for another day and rested the next night. This time, what came out of the woods was humanoid, a roaming bandit group, the Red Brands. The leaders stepped forward and began to make demands, but when it became clear he wasn't leaving without the girl, Viper simply shot him in the head, killing him instantly. The rest of the bandits were first intimidated, but then infuriated, charging in to attack. Heathcote joined the fight but was quickly surrounded. Luce cast a spell that hid him in an obscuring mist, so that he wouldn't be killed as easily, but the rest of the party was too occupied with the fight to help. Viper had ducked behind the carriage, and was looking for an opening to take a shot, but between Zebru, Marcus, and Evilgrin being engaged with the enemy, and a thick cloud of mist filling the area, he couldn't get a clear shot. Heathcote was on his last legs when Camilla stepped out of the carriage, seeing her butler in danger. She opened her mouth and let out a cone of fire breath. The party, a tad surprised, finished off the bandits and began asking questions.
"I guess I owe you an explanation."
Heathcote explained.
Camilla is actually a wormling red dragon, but she hasn't been maturing properly. I was taking her to her uncle Zargon in Sharn. He is an alchemist, and I am hoping that he will know what to do. I should also confess that I was once a member of that bandit group many years ago. They are not likely to stop attacking us until they're dealt with.
If you were one of them,
Marcus said,
then you must know where their hideout is.
I do, but it will be dangerous to engage them directly.
"It's better than letting them keep ambushing us," Viper said.
Then I can help you get in.
Heathcote led the group to the back entrance of the Red Brand hideout, which was situated in an abandoned church and its underground catacombs. The party moved aside a gravestone which hid the entrance, and Viper led the way stealthily inside. The first hall was blocked by a guard, and lit by ever-burning torches. "Guess there's no avoiding this. Lights out." Viper snapped his fingers, and it suddenly became dark in the hallway. The guard was confused, and thought perhaps the ever-burning torches had stopped working, so he went to go get help. When he returned with another guard, the party jumped them and took them out silently. They made it all the way to the mess hall before they were caught and fighting started. The party was stuck in a tight corridor and had to funnel the bandits through it, but managed to push their way through and into the small room. The bandit leader, a half-orc ranger named Wildheart, and his direwolf companion burst out of the office to the right, while the rest of the gang began flooding in from the left, sandwiching the party in between. Marcus, Luce, Viper, and Camilla held off the crowd of bandits, while Zebru, Evilgrin, and Heathcote went after the leader. Wildheart was surprisingly strong, and held his own against the three for a while, before eventually being worn down. He retreated to his room, and pulled out a magical card, activating Dimension Door to escape. His underlings were defeated, and he left his direwolf behind, which quickly fled into a small gap in the wall. With most of them defeated, the bandits were no longer a threat, and the party moved on to the next town, Galespire. Viper approached Zebru. "You still owe me for that potion."
Not happening, kid.
Viper looked frustrated, but simply left. That night, Zebru woke up to find his things missing. His entire stash of gold and items had been pulled right out from underneath him. He burst into the lower floor of the tavern, while the others were drinking, to see Viper on his way out the door.
Give me the gold back,
he said.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Viper said in a dry and smug voice.
I know you stole my stuff.
That's absurd.
Show me what you have in your bag.
Why should I?
Zebru charged at Viper, but Evil Grin stepped in his way. Marcus tried to break up the fight, but merely ended up covering Viper's escape as he dipped out of the tavern. Marcus was able to track Viper down, however, and asked him if he really took the stuff.
Of course I did. He refused to pay me back for my potion. I should never have saved his life.
Well, you can't just leave.
Why not?
Viper said. By now the guards had been called, and were looking for Viper. Zebru also caught up, and demanded his stuff back.
No,
said Viper.
I'm leaving.
No, I'm leaving,
said Zebru.
I can tell when I'm not wanted. Give me my things back and I'll leave.
Fine.
Viper dumped Zebru's things out in the street. He took them and left the party.
I'm gonna go drinking. Follow me if you want.
Viper and the others met up with Evil Grin, who was already having a drink, and the night was over. The 4 remaining members finished their mission, and got Camilla and Heathcote to Sharn on a week-long boat ride down the Dagger River, where they met up with Zargon in the massively vertical towers of Sharn. Zargon was gruff with the party, but thanked them for their help. Heathcote told them that the party was made aware of his family's secret, and Zargon threatened them into keeping silent. He gave them a fairly large share of gold and his thanks, and sent them on their way. Thanks for watching this episode of Dungeons and Drawgans. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe for more. Feel free to comment your own D&D stories down below. And come follow my Twitter, @DungeonsandDraw, where I give updates, interact with fans, and even let you vote on what story I tell next.